You probably know that Airtable and project management tend to go hand in hand. One of the things that I love about Airtable is that it's so easy and so customizable. However, some features, I guess they do need a bit of technical skill to cover. So in this video, we're going to cover how I'd set up a project management tool for a local home services business. They do construction projects which have multiple steps. They need to handle communications tracking, assign different tasks to different subcontractors, as well as manage billing and payments through Stripe. So if you're not that type of business though, chances are you do need to communicate with your customers and you need to bill them. So you're gonna love how I show you how to connect Twilio right into Airtable, as well as Stripe right into Airtable, so that you can easily manage these all in one handy interface. All right, so let's jump right in here with kind of a brief overview of the different tables we've built out. We have a contact section. It's gonna have your basic standard fields: first name, last name, phone, email. In this case, it has houses, which if there's like a husband and wife, you want to tie them both to the same house, which is pretty important. And then we also have a communications field where you can see all of the different communications, invoicing, as well as later on, we're going to show the Stripe customer ID. In our houses section, obviously you have the different houses. I thought it'd be cool to kind of show the different options. You can throw a photo in there of the house just so it's easy to reference, I guess, for future. And then we also have the option in here. They do have a maps extension. So if you open this up a little bit, you can see kind of where all of your different houses are located. Obviously, I have a bunch of fake addresses in there, so it's kind of not showing or populating them too well because they're not real places. But if you were to have a bunch of them all in one little area here, it'd be easy to kind of see where everything is located if you're not familiar with the area. Then we're going to skip over to this contact communication section. So this is kind of like the hub of all of the different activities. So if you're familiar with lots of different CRMs, typically what will happen is you'll see that there's like the contact record and then there's a scrolling list of activities. That's actually a whole separate database, essentially, of timestamped values where all these things have happened. So basically what we have here is kind of this name field, which is just a short descriptor, whether it's an email subject line, a meeting name, or something custom there. And then we have the actual fields in here that are the exact details. So maybe it's a call recording and you want the transcript. Maybe you want the email body, meeting description, things of that nature. And then a few different little helper fields along here, date and time. If there was an email attachment, that's there. You can select what type of communication it was, and then it also pulls the emails and phone numbers from the contacts as well. Again, mostly people won't be looking at this section, but it is just a tracking kind of database for everything. So we'll dive into here how kind of everything gets all tracked. So I've also built out a couple different interfaces for things. One of them is a send message option. So you can choose your contacts and then choose what kind of formatting you want. So if you just want to send them a text, hey Jane, how's it going? You could do that. That'll send off. I have a fake number in there right now. It might be somebody's actual number, so I don't want to be texting Jane, whoever it is. Or if it's an email, you can add in the new subject line here. And then if you did have some attachments, you could easily attach those there using Airtable's uploader field. So once those get sent off, then they go back into this field here, again with their respective items. Now you'll see that there is a couple different options here. There's a meeting option as well as a phone call option. Right now, phone calls are just static. If you did have a phone call with somebody, you do have to just manually track it. But the meeting option, if you book a new meeting in your Google Calendar, it actually creates this new record here. So that's this one. So it connects into your Google Calendar. I believe they have an Outlook calendar as well, so you could connect that. And then it'll create that new record in that database. And then I have built out a little bit of a script here. I'll just show quickly. Maybe you can take a screenshot. But basically what it does is it takes the attendee emails from the Google Calendar invite, and then it checks to see if they are in the contact space. If they're not in the contacts, then it adds them as a new contact. If they are there, then it'll just tie in that contact to that specific meeting so that everything gets tracked all automatically for you. It's really handy. And then from there, the other aspect of things that happens is SMS. So you can send an SMS, which I already showed you, but sometimes the people obviously text you back. So with Twilio, what they do is whenever you can set it up in your Twilio account that whenever a SMS is received, it goes to a specific webhook. So in this case, where it's sending over to this specific webhook, and then again, we run a little bit of a script. This is just so that we can format the phone number properly. So in Twilio, it ends up showing like this. However, we need the formatting to be more like Airtable's formatting in order to find and match it. And then it will find those contacts and attach that communication to that specific contact or phone number in this case. So again, very handy. It's all automated. You don't have to worry about like going and logging things, which is probably one of the features that you're not used to having with Airtable, in the sense that, oh, you gotta, manually add in these various different components, but in this case, it's all just streamlined and automated, like you might be used to with HubSpots like CRMs, like you might be used to with some CRMs like HubSpot or Go High Level. Okay, so let's dive in. So say we have a new client that has a new project. So that's gonna be a new project here. Maybe in this case, we have that they want a new bathroom renovation. So you can add in your custom notes, you can add in some projected start dates, end dates, that kind of a thing, as well as duration. So one of the cool things about Airtable and their durations is that if you are adjusting these, it will automatically have this as a dependency and recalculate the duration. Similarly, if you take this down to maybe 150, it will automatically recalculate some of the other dependencies as well. In this case, it was doing some back-end recalculation because we do have some subtasks tied in. And basically it's saying, hey, we don't have enough time for all these tasks. We got to shrink it a little bit. But you can see that this end date did end up updating here. Then as well for this field, we do have the different statuses. So depending on what project status things are at, we have that. We also have some project resources, contractors, invoices, things like that. I'll show you in a second how those are all tied in, as well as the subtasks too. So before we move on from this view, I do want to show the timeline view. I think this is probably one of the coolest things that Airtable has, is this timeline view. So we're going to zoom out a little bit so that we can see here, and then we're going to scroll over to today where we have some projects on the go. Makes it really easy to see kind of what's happening in what groups of things, as well as this calendar view if you prefer to look at it that way, how long projects are going to take, how long they're going to be. And then you can it's really easy to just like modify things. So if you need to adjust the timeline, things are going to take longer, less long, etc. Super easy to do that. Then of course, each project has subtasks. So this new bathroom, lots of different tasks to it, some different people involved too. So we have this project subtasks page, which if you look, it looks a little crazy right now, but that's just because we have a couple different projects going on. So we have the new bathroom project as well as the major renovation project. So in this new bathroom project, we have these few tasks over here, replace the sink, do the flooring, new tile, etc., etc. And of course, when you're doing construction, a lot of things need to happen in a certain order. So again, we do have those dependent tasks as well, along with how long each task is going to take. The cool thing here too is that we can go and assign these to different contractors. So we have this contractor tab here, and we also have a specialty tab. So each contractor has different skills, and they can really only do work that's related to their specific skill, right? So what happens is that this drop-down field kind of helps find the top matches. So if it's like, since Jake's already there, that's not really relevant. We don't actually have anyone for HVAC or electrical, but let's say in this case, Joe wasn't quite assigned to this plumbing task yet. It'll find, presumably using Airtable AI, the top match for this, which should be Joe. Somehow it's decided that Dylan is the best guy for plumbing, even though he doesn't have that skill yet, though. But generally, the subcontracting or the AI matching does tend to be pretty helpful, especially if you're going through a large database of, hundreds of subcontractors and you can't remember who does what. This is fairly helpful as well. Okay, then from there, we also have this timeline view. And again, it's pretty handy because we can kind of pair it out by the different projects. So whether it's the new bathroom project. Okay, then from there, we also have this timeline view. And again, it's pretty handy because we can kind of pair it out by the different projects. So whether it's the new bathroom project or the major renovation project. And then we can say, hey, who's going to be in charge of what? And then it shows us all our dependencies as well. So it's kind of just throwing in some different dates here. As you can see, kind of random in terms of how long things will take. But if you do find things are taking longer, it's really nice that you can just quickly adjust and move things to be longer. And then because of their dependencies, it'll adjust whatever item is in front of that. So say this sink replacement was taking a long time and it took maybe a whole week, the sink was late. It just kind of slides everything down and auto recalculates all of it for you, which is super handy. The next main thing that many projects are made of are, of course, project resources. So you need to go buy that tub, the tile, the flooring, etc., etc. All of these get tied into the main project, and then you're able to really easily see how much projects are costing as things progress, right? So, and oftentimes as well, I guess, the actual cost of the tub might be one price, but you might upcharge it to the client a little bit more. So this customer charge is what actually the customer will have on their invoice, whereas this is your cost for it, so you can kind of see things in there. As well, there's like a receipt field in here, so if you're buying things from the store, what have you, you can track all of that receipts for later down the line. The other component, obviously, is some labor associated, right? So every time that your contractor submits an invoice, like Joe, that gets added in here as well as a subcontractor cost for that specific project. However, obviously, again, not a super great interface to look at. So we do have this form here as well, just for a new project expense. So if you're out on the go, you can very easily add these different components right directly to, or you can tag your receipt for these different components and add it automatically. As well, just use your camera to grab a quick photo of that receipt, and it's all tracked in there for you automatically. So the very next super cool thing is being able to connect Stripe right into Airtable. I haven't ever seen anybody do this. I was looking for Google resources to how can somebody get this done? So it actually comes from a scripting extension. So there is a little bit of code in here. I did get ChatGPT to kind of do it all for me, although I'm still surprised at how dumb ChatGPT can be sometimes when it comes to, hey, do this task, and it still can't figure out the resources in order to do the task properly, even though they're publicly available, or you said, hey, make sure you consult Stripe's documentation, still doesn't figure it out. So it's a little bit tricky, but I have it all here, so if you're interested in it, let me know, and happy to share that information with you guys. So our invoices table, so accounts receivable, and then we have accounts payable. So accounts payable, those are all of our contractors, you need to go pay them, etc., etc. Accounts receivable, that's what our customers owe us. So we can see here, we have an open invoice for major renovation. We have all of our project resources tied into the house, tied into the contact, everything like that. Our project total is all sent in there. Clearly, if it's a major renovation, we didn't add all our resources in there, but don't worry about the data quite yet. And then what happens here is we have this generate invoice button. So what this does is it actually opens up a scripting extension, again with a little bit of code in here. So essentially, and don't worry about your seeing my lovely test key here, I'll end up changing that anyways. But essentially what happens here is that it checks if there is a Stripe customer. If there's not a Stripe customer, it creates it. Then from there, it creates a Stripe invoice, which is separate from the individual invoice items. So the individual invoice items are also created and then added to that invoice. And so yeah, they're created here and added to that invoice, and then lots of different steps for that. And then it gets finalized, the invoice, and so that's what actually sends it out to the customer via Stripe. And then it comes back to Airtable, and it just updates the couple little items in our Airtable. So it'll add the invoice ID, it adds the actual PDF, it marks the status as sent, and then it also adds a payment link for the customer so that we can email them and remind them directly from Airtable as well, hey, you have a new invoice, please go pay it here. So I'll show you that automation as well. So it creates the invoice. So if the status is complete, then it will create that invoice line item. It doesn't actually generate through Stripe there. I do want to give people the opportunity to check things over and approve it before it's fully generated. And then it'll also give you the opportunity to set an invoice due date. And so then if the invoice is overdue, so in this case, if the record in invoices is overdue, then it will send a reminder email saying, hey, your invoice for this project is due. Here's the link to pay it. And then it also updates the status here to overdue. So it just reminds the client saying, hey, you do have another email. Again, this is something that's super customizable. So you can send it the day it's due, right? Maybe they still haven't paid 7 days later, set up another reminder. Okay, if the due date is 7 days ago, send this reminder again, kind of a thing. So super customizable with what you can do in Airtable there. Then these last couple fields here. So the specialties one, I was mentioning how you can have different specialties, different subcontractors. I did just want to make it really easy to add new specialties and kind of tie those all in together. And then the other aspect is this payments. So any kind of incoming or outgoing payments. Again, I have it set up so that if it's managed through Stripe, it all gets tracked in here really easily as well. So that you can say, hey, yes, this was paid, wasn't paid, kind of a reconciliation kind of an item here. The last step we're going to touch on really quickly is just these different invoices. So what we're going to do is, we're going to copy this link here, and then we're going to take a look. This is kind of what you would be using maybe while you're on the go, or if you just want to kind of have this nice looking interface to use things with. You can see these different projects here. Again, customize how long of a time you're seeing it for. Kind of click on them, open them up, edit the resources here. Maybe you have different tasks and subtasks you want to add from that component. I've also built it out again so you kind of see that subtask view a little bit more cleanly. You can adjust these as well, adjust the times and things of that nature too. All in there, and again, very easy if things are taking longer, less time, things haven't gotten started yet. It's very easy to adjust and change. Again, for that new project expense, we do have that here too. They can add that in there. If you want more of the CRM type of a view, we have that option too. So this is all kind of split out by houses. So depending on what house it is, you can see the specific details. If you need to add new notes in there, kind of a thing, you can adjust that all on the fly too. We can go back and see how that's. And then I did build a very brief dashboard, just kind of as hey, I'm going to check this out, a very handy reference, kind of the houses you have on the go, and maybe any recent communications that have come in that are a little bit handy and that you need to see. And then this last one here is contractor invoices. So how you would set this up, you'd kind of need different segments for each contractor. Very quick one-time setup. It could probably also be automated as well. And then you're going to share this link with your contractor. They don't need an Airtable account. It's actually very handy. What I've done is created a nice URL for them to click on, and they can submit an invoice for this specific project that's tied to them, right? So, I mean, this one is all Joe's. You would theoretically have one that's all Dylan or Jake or whoever else your subcontractors are. And then, yeah, it makes it really clean to submit an invoice, and then it all goes into your database rather than dealing with all these emails and things back and forth. It's just all in one handy place. And they can reference this as well, right? You could set it up so that they can see, hey, received invoice, payment approved, payment is on its way. They could track all the statuses of things in there as well. So that is basically it for this project template. I'm sure there's a ton of other things you could add. So if there's something you're thinking of and you're like, oh man, I wish this feature was in there, it'd be really cool to do this. Let me know in the comments. I can maybe do a follow-up video and show you how to implement that type of a thing. Or if you're looking for a custom version of this database for yourself and need my help,